Alright, so I had a little time today after work, decided to go and start working on getting this seam put back together. Start over here on the driver's side. What I ended up doing was using the scrap piece I took off as a little template, kind of got it worked up in there. I'm gonna do little butt welds here. Right here I put a little flange. So figures these little short seams, they won't be hard to get to line up, and this one that's running long, I didn't want to burn through the whole thing, heat it up, so I wanted something kind of behind there to give it a little more support. Then I'll grind it all smooth, kind of tap it in as I weld it. You'll never really know it's like that. And then on the inside, I'm going to put some seam sealer. I got these holes lined up. That right there is gonna be a spot weld. It didn't drill the prettiest, but whatever. I've got a flange tool, and on the other side it'll make little holes for spot welds. That's what I use there. And then just a hole saw for trying to get that to match up. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And if I need to, I can do some filing just to get them to line up. But yeah, pretty happy with the way it's turning out. I'm gonna start getting it burned in. And I'll post another video once that's done. Then I'm probably gonna take a break, but at some point I'm just gonna keep making seams. Make this one to the curve, that'll be one seam. And then this one here, that'll be one seam. And close all that in. So I don't need it. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'll keep updating. All right. So I got this burned in. I did butt welds through here. I did a lap weld through here. That was a mistake. I should have butt welded it. I had a hard time getting it to fill in. I'm not going to grind that down any further because this whole thing's going to get a skim coat. So everything that's got still some little raised edges on it, once I skim coat it, you won't be able to tell it. Also went ahead, cut a piece for this. It's ground down a little smoother than it looks. I'm just not going to go back in and fill every little crack with weld. Some of these I may still take down a little bit, but this is also going to get a skim coat, so most of that'll get filled in with a little bit of Bondo. Won't be a whole lot, just enough to kind of smooth it out. Kind of see where this isn't the smoothest texture. Some of it's probably a little warping from heat, some of it's from hammering on it. Most of it's probably from hammering on it. Go ahead and got this piece. It's the back side. I'm letting it dry. Primer on it. Once it's dried, start putting it on right here. And this seam's done. Still got to go through, work on filling this in, filling this in, filling that in. A couple little holes over here. Still need to make a piece of metal for that. Just little odds and ends. I don't know how much of this I'm going to fill in. I may leave most of it. Anything I don't use, just put some grommets on it with some sealer. So right now, I don't really know how I'm going to run a lot of the harness. So I'm going to leave some holes if I got to cut later. Maybe I'll cut where an existing hole is instead of filling this in, then cutting another hole. I don't believe I'm going to need any of this, so I'm probably going to fill it in as well. But yeah, I'm happy with it right now. I didn't make any videos of me actually doing this work because most of it's welding and grinding, and I just don't figure that's interesting to watch. But really, there wasn't a whole lot of trick to it. I took the piece off of this one. It had a little bit of a curve to it. It wasn't just a straight piece because of the factory curve, so I hammered it flat which gave me a good template. I laid that on my metal, cut it out, and then was able to slowly tack this up. And then I used Clecos to kind of pull this seam in. And then I was able to start doing these little spot welds. And it worked out well. And the line's not perfect. I don't really have the tools to make it perfect, but most people will look at it. I might catch it for a second, then they'll be looking at something else, motor, anything else. So I'm not overly concerned with it. It's not a show truck. It's 100 times better than all that rust that was down in here. If you go back, watch a previous video, the amount of rust that was hiding was unreal. Still really happy with the seam sealer too. It's made like a really thick shell around that, almost harder than the metal that was underneath, it seems like. All right, I'll make another video when I get this spot done. All right, got this last piece burnt in, got it ground down. It's kind of the same as the rest of them. Shrinks up around the weld. I'm not gonna go through and chase it with more weld. I've got it ground pretty smooth, little skim coat of Bondo on there after some primer. Get it block sanded down, it'll look good. You'll never set the seam, you'll never know it was cut. Edge here's not perfect, but it's close enough for the tools I got. Everything kind of blends in nicely here. Probably grind just a little bit more in there. But yeah, once all this gets covered up, should look pretty good. I'm happy with it. Never have done this before. I wish I hadn't, as I said previously, wish I hadn't done lap weld there. Wish I'd just butt welded it. That'd look so much better. But either way. And then I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do right here. I cut these off. I could have probably left them. At the time, I really wasn't thinking about it. You can always just glob that in there with seam sealer so it don't drop a bunch of water in. I really don't know what I'm gonna do with it. But anyways, that's it. On to the next project, which will be covering up more holes, getting this thing to where I can start sanding, priming, body working, and get it painted, get it back on the truck. It's ready. It's ready for me to put it on. Then I can start putting other stuff on, get it running. Catch you up to the next one.